Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? So I was scrolling through Dane Bugler's mock draft over at The Athletic, where he did a 7-round mock. And he kind of has the Saints doing what I think a lot of people are anticipating, going offensive line and receiver at 16 and 19. Let me ask you first and foremost, where do you stand on what the Saints are going to do? Are they going to make those picks or are they going to move?
I think they're going to make the picks. And I forget where Mickey Loomis said this maybe a few days ago, but he made a mention of, look, if we stay at 16 and 19, and then you look at the second round pick, and the way their board goes, they might have the top 20 or 25 players off their board with those three picks. And I think that they're going to stay there. And it's funny, I actually have a story coming out tomorrow where I did 40 mock draft simulations using two different sites, and the simulator gets really trade happy and tries to push the Saints to trade up for a quarterback or even trade up for a lineman. And I think both of those routes would be a mistake. I just think that tackle, there are plenty of good ones. Wide receiver, there are plenty of good ones where they're going to be picking in both of those spots. They both need spots. So I think they stay put. And I just can't see them trading up for a quarterback. I just think it would go against what they're trying to get done this year and fill some of these spots that are certainly open. And if you trade up for a quarterback, you've got open holes with players that you're not going to totally trust.
So there was also, you're referencing a conversation Mickey Loomis had with Peter King, that Peter King wrote about.
That's it, yes.
And Peter also mentioned the possibility, which Mickey Loomis mentioned to him, of the Saints trading back in round one. If there's basically what happened with Chicago last year. They saw Justin Fields drop. They moved up 10 spots. Could the Saints theoretically, when they never trade back, but do you think that's a possibility where they might be willing to move back and recoup the picks that they lost in the Eagles trade?
No. Who are we kidding? No, never. Like you said, they never do it. No way. It's laughable. It's funny. When I was doing just primarily Saints stuff, every year I would go through the scenarios of how they might be able to trade back and what picks they could get. It's a worthless exercise because they don't do it in the first round. And I don't see, if you're trading to get a second first round pick, I don't know why you'd want to trade back at that point because you've added assets already. So I just can't see it at all. Like I would be floored because, Matt, in typical drafts, your first round graded players typically cap off at about 20, 22. And that's pretty much league-wide. And so if you're picking at 25, you might be picking a second-round graded guy, depending on how your board goes. So I can't see them trading back at all. If they do, look, you and me ought to do like shots on the air live because we would lose bets. Because neither one of us, I'm assuming, would be betting on them trading back.
I think we're going to be doing that anyway because we'll be doing our companion show at Don Juan Cigar Bar. So I will be drinking and smoking cigars during the draft. Very much looking forward to it. So I mentioned Dane Brugler over at The Athletic. His mock draft, he has the Saints taking Charles Cross, the offensive tackle out of Mississippi State, at 16. And then Jameson Williams, the wide receiver out of Alabama, at 19. And then taking a safety in round 2. What do you think about that approach of taking offensive tackle, receiver, and safety with those first three picks?
I think they would fit everything that you'd really be looking for. Cross, I've seen people have him mocked higher than 16, I think if they get Cross, I think that would be almost kind of a steal. Jameson Williams, healthy, he's probably not lasting at 19. The fact that he's banged up would be why he would last at 19, and I think that would be someone who would be a starting receiver for you for, let's say, 4 years, because I'm not so certain how healthy he's going to be this year, but he could make it back and play. And then, the safety you're referring to is Tre'Quan Brisker, and he's more of a strong safety, and that would be someone who would probably come in and you would want him to fill the role of Malcolm Jenkins after retiring. because you don't really have anyone totally certain at that spot. I mean, you brought in Marcus May to be more of a free safety. So if you'd have Brisker come in, it would be, they don't play the exact same position, but it would be a similar scenario like when you drafted Marcus Williams. He came in, started immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Brisker would be someone who you would like at that spot. Because, again, like I said, I've run a bunch of these simulators, and Brisker sometimes goes a little higher. Sometimes he reaches the Saints there. And so, I think those 3 picks would be dynamite. I think Dane, look, I've known him, and he's a stud when it comes to nailing these things down. I think he's spot on with all 3 of those players. It would be a really good draft, those 3 picks, if they were able to get those 3, in my opinion.
What if I think we all generally assume those are 3 spots the Saints have to address at some point in this draft. What's another spot that you would like to see New Orleans address with a reasonable pick? Let's call it with a 3rd round pick.
Adam Troutman hasn't done it for me. I'd look at a tight end. I mean, I think that's got to be something you at least kind of ponder. Maybe someone like a Trey McBride. I know he's kind of caught up some steam a little bit here, but I would look at tight end. I would even look. I wouldn't discount running back. At some point, you're going to need a second running back. If, maybe after this year of Mark Ingram's, he plays one more year and that's it. If there's someone you really like there, I haven't said quarterback yet, and I think you look at who the Saints have at quarterback. Would they, if someone like Desmond Ridder fell to them in the 2nd round, or if Matt Corral's hanging around in the 2nd round? I would not be opposed to them taking him, but I don't think it's a necessity that they take a quarterback. So outside of those positions, though, I think I'd like them to see tight end, running back. I think they're okay at corner. Maybe someone that's maybe defensive tackle, but I don't think that's, again, a necessity. And I feel like they're in better shape defensively than they are offensively, and that's such a bizarre thing to say.
I want to dig a little deeper on quarterback, because we are seeing that in a lot of mock drafts. The Saints using their 2nd round pick on a quarterback. What is the logic behind drafting a project at quarterback that high?
I don't see any, especially for the Saints. It's you see them being sometimes projected to trade up to go take Malik Willis. Why? I don't get that logic to me at all. I don't get the logic because here's the thing, he could have the highest ceiling, but he's certainly a project. But Carolina might have to take him. They might have to take. I guess it depends on, Matt, who you think is actually a project quarterback. I'm just, you and me have talked about this. You think all of them are projects?
I mean, aren't we assuming that Jameis Winston is going to be the starting quarterback for the Saints this year? If
absolutely.
Absolutely. So any quarterback you draft is someone that is by definition a project. They're going to sit and watch and grow and learn, and they're not ready to play and be your guy right away.
Well, I think that's. I don't know if it's a project. Was Aaron Rodgers a project?
Yes.
When the Packers took him?
They had no intention of playing him right away. It took him 4 years to play.
I think our definitions of projects are a little different. I think of a project who is not capable of coming in and starting. And now look, you could argue that this entire draft is full of guys who can't come in and start. So I get what you're saying. You and me have differing opinions on Kenny Pickett. I think he's the most ready to play quarterback there is. And so if some team took him like Pittsburgh, if I'm Pittsburgh, I'm starting him. But I'm not totally sold on anybody else in terms of that. So I guess it just depends on your definition, even though I think Malik Willis is a project, but he might go 6, which I think that's too much. Even say Trey Lance last year. I would have, I guess I could tag him project, but I wouldn't have tagged Trevor Lawrence project. I don't even know if I would have tagged Mac Jones project, just because I feel like he has pro skills, and played. So I think it just depends on our our interpretation of that word.
We might be getting bogged down in semantics there, but the point is the Saints would be drafting a quarterback that they have no intention of playing this year or maybe even the next 2 years.
I agree, which is why if they trade up and take a quarterback, I mean, you should blast them. I would blast them. I think you would blast them too. It would go against totally if they think they can win right now and get to the playoffs, which that's my opinion and that of what they're doing, and I think that's how they're going inside the building. Then getting 2 picks and then going to get a guy that can't even play and may never play. He may never play. That would be a total waste of time, and it would go against everything you've been trying to build this offseason and in the last few years.
He's on Twitter at Larry Holder. Do you think they make another free agent move before the draft?
Any move right now would be a minor move. Okay. So I think that they're biding their time. They might make a move after the draft. Like if they didn't fill a spot, they might make a move there. But at which position, I think it depends on how much they feel like they did in the draft. I'm trying to remember Jameis Winston. They signed him after the draft.
Correct.
And oddly enough, remember a couple of years ago they signed Adrian Peterson before the draft. That was so bizarre. And then they went and drafted.
And they drafted Kamara.
Right. So that was weird.
And I drilled them for drafting Kamara. Like, what? You just signed a running back. Why did you move up in round 3 to take a running back? Now, obviously, he's ended up being a sensational player, and that was a very awful take by me. But the Saints, at that point, Larry, I mean, that was the 2017 draft. They didn't deserve the benefit of the doubt at that point. They do now.
No, they did not deserve the benefit of the doubt. But this is a draft where I feel like that they want to try to do the same thing. I mean, that's hard to replicate. And it's funny, if you go look back at the 2017 draft, you think of the Saints draft being a really good one, but the rest of the draft class wasn't as great as like we see it in terms of covering the Saints. So they got it even better than maybe we thought. And I feel like this draft though, they need to stick with the spots they know are deep, they know have good prospects. There's no point in gambling on someone unless it's someone like Jameson Williams who's just injured now. When healthy, he could have been the number 1 receiver in the draft class. So they don't gamble early. I think that's something they cannot afford to do.
2 weeks from today. Looking forward to it, man. I read about it over at The Athletic. He's Larry Holder on Twitter at Larry Holder. Hey, man, always appreciate a couple of minutes. Have a great Easter weekend, all right?
Yeah, you too. I'm sure we'll talk before then. Good stuff.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.